Hey there. Hello, hello. Tracey Noriega here, paying it forward to you on Power to the Peeps. And PEEPS stands for Positive, Extraordinary, Everyday People Stories. And today I have Coach T.Spice in the house. Thank you. I love her. Yeah. I'm going to have to work on those biceps there. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming and joining me. I know you're being all over the place from Ohio to Louisiana. You're from Brooklyn. You're in LA. What are you up to? What are you up to?
Moving, just following where I'm being pulled. Right now, I'm visiting family in Louisiana, and I'll be going back to LA on the 4th. But the grind doesn't stop, the conversations don't stop, and I'm super excited and honored to be here and to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, well, let me just briefly tell people I'm Coach T.Spice here. I actually did a recording with him on his podcast, which is up in the description. The Money Mind Rinkers, yes. And that was so much fun. That was my first time being on the other side of it. And so when we had that, I just said, you know what? I would love to share your message with the people that I speak to. And he, very graciously agreed to come on. So wanted to share that he is, as it says up there, he's a mindset. I like this. People would call him a mindset life coach, right? Because it is all about up here, what's between the two ears, right? 6 inches right there.
Mhm.
But I love this, as the description says. He says, I would prefer to call myself the world's first perceptionist, right? Advocating living a life by design and not default. And I think that's a perfect way to introduce yourself, your coaching method, what your perception is of this and how you help people. So,
I do. I think that it's extremely accurate because I've come to realize how powerful perception is when it comes to creating, your reality. And it does break my heart, as we were talking about before, experiencing so many people just living by default in that they're accepting what they can get or just looking for what's in reach. What can I do? Instead of asking yourself, what do I want to do? What am I called to do? I think it's super rewarding and meaningful to be aligned with a path that you feel is unique to you. So if it's a perception shift away, I'd love to support you in doing that. And I did say if it is a perception shift away, but I know it is. It is a perception shift away, and I'd love to support you in doing that.
now, where do you find that many times it's a little bit more than just one perception? Because it's almost like a, how would you say, a domino effect, right? Because once you start with one, then you have to reevaluate something else you told yourself. Right? Like the lies we tell you. I remember my mom telling me, be careful, if you always tell the truth, then you never have to worry about what you say. But once you tell a lie, then you have to tell another lie to cover that one up. Do you see that in your coaching with people, and as you would say, the perception they have and the things they tell themselves?
Absolutely. So when they say perception is reality, it is more of like a collection of perceptions
Yeah.
that create your reality. And I think what a collection of perceptions is called is a paradigm, right? It's a complete paradigm that you live in where you're going to take in information and you're going to respond to it in ways that are familiar to you based on previous experiences. And what's really interesting about that, and what I want people to hear, is that a lot of these perceptions, if not most or all of them, were created when we were very, very young, like from ages 1 to 7. We're looking around, we're guessing at what the world is all about, and we're assigning meaning to different things before we even gave ourselves a chance to have a full scope. We're looking at our parents, they did this, so that must be what this is, or our siblings, or what we experienced at school. And the world is so much bigger. It's not hard to imagine that the world is so much bigger than what you see on the playground as a 7-year-old. But yet that's where a lot of our perceptions have started, sprouted. And as every time that we reiterated, every time that we responded to a similar situation in the same way, that programming gets stronger. That sense that this is reality just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think that it's time to break down a lot of those beliefs and those perceptions, especially when they're not beneficial to us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, like the first thing is really about the questioning, because, like, as you said, you just go on that way. I mean, it's taken me, I don't know, decades to see there are certain parts of me that I just defaulted to that. So, like with you saying, live not by default, but when you have everyone around you saying that this is how it is, and you're like, okay, and everybody's operating under that, you're just like, I guess that's how it is, you
Mhm.
know? And, it's until I love the question and authority, right? Or even question your thought. Don't believe everything you think and everything you're told. Like, see if that's really true. But how do you help uh, when you're coaching, how do you help them move through that? Because some people don't even question that anything is other than what it is, and they'll argue for their limitations.
Right. And that is, I think, something that is, truly unique to the coaching space and being a coach, is that is what you're up against, is these perceptions and these beliefs that are pretty much set in stone. So when you say, how do you get people to question, it's as simple as what you just said. You ask them questions, right? So they get to pick it apart. Is that true? Do I have another option? Can I approach it from this way? Well, what would happen if I did that? Never considered it. But when you get into a conversation with a coach, now you have that opportunity to consider things you've never considered.
Yeah. Well, and have those discussions, because if you're with the same people who have that same mentality, they're never going to question anything else. And I know that's happened to me, you start talking about it and they're looking at you like you are smoking something.
They say, they say that the antidote to ignorance is travel,
Yeah.
getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of
Mhm.
that circle. And I believe in that. I've traveled and you get to see things from so many different perspectives, but there are a lot of us that have spent our entire lives with what is familiar to us. So confirmation bias, we keep getting fed the same information that confirm what we already believe.
Mhm.
And that's not helpful.
Yeah. Well, that's another part, right? We can keep looking for it depends, and we've talked about this before about, whatever you concentrate on is what you're going to experience. So whatever evidence I continue to look for is what I'm going to find, right? But we, concentrate on that instead of, like, for example, just money, and instead of the abundance that actually is, right? And so we just want to see what we don't have, and then that's what we keep experiencing, right? Or I don't have opportunity, and you'll tell yourself all the reasons why you don't have an opportunity rather than all the opportunities that exist, which are limitless. So how do you help people with your 3 C's? How does that apply? How do you use that? Did you want to explain?
Yeah, so I have a program. It's called GYST. GYST stands for Get Your Shine Together.
There you go. All
And
right.
it has an intention of taking anyone who enrolls from limiting beliefs, self-doubt, procrastination, playing small, all of the things that weigh us down and hold us back, all the way to living fully expressed, fully actualized, manifesting at a very high level. And that includes income. I think it's important to say that money is a part of it, because I think we have a lot of negative feelings attached to money. And we want to say that when you're living a life of meaning, you got to leave money out of it. That's not the case. Being fully expressed sometimes, in a lot of cases, in most cases, means becoming wealthy as well, because it gives you opportunity to give. And I know a lot of people that I work with, they truly want to give, and money is the tool and the resource by which we do that. But from getting from step A to step B to step Z, I take you through the confidence formula, and it starts off with clarity, right? We want to get super duper extra clear about what it is that you want to create. What is your vision? What is your dream? I want to take this to another level. When you hear me say clarity, you might just envision yourself just having a picture in your head generally of what you want, where you want to go, and what you want to do. But I'm talking about getting so detailed in your vision to the point to where, what do the doorknobs look like on in your dream home? You know, getting so clear that it feels like it already happened. Right.
Yeah, the visualization.
Right. And that's so important to me because it gives you an option. And options and choices, freedom. Your option becomes, do I want to live my life doing the same things and going down the path that I have been going? Or do I want to align myself with this vision that I have? And I think that's important because a lot of people live their life thinking that the way they're living, the cards they dealt, is the only option that they have. And they say things like, it is what it is. And they end up just taking what you can get. And that is living by default, right? But you have an option to live by design. And once we've done that, we want to move into the next step, which is consistency, you know, because we go ahead.
That's a big one. That's a big one because you can start doing it, but if you don't keep doing it, I know I struggle with that too. It's just like, okay, got to keep doing it. Got to keep doing it. You know, it's like working out. Yeah, it's just, doing 100 sit-ups ain't going to give you your six pack.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in this step, in consistency, what we do is we get to outline macro goals, micro goals, and daily habit shifts that align you more closely to your vision, right? And I get to hold you accountable for that. And what I've learned is that every time you put yourself in a position, every time you stretch yourself to reach a goal that is bigger than what you thought you can do, one of two things is either going to happen every single time. Either going to get a blessing or you're going to get a lesson, right?
I like that, yeah.
Period. Period. That's it. And it's important. That's important. That's an important part of the process because it allows you to take fear off of the table, fear of failure. What if this is going to happen? What if people, what if all this stuff, right? You either win or you learn.
Yeah.
Period. Either way you grow, right? When that belief becomes solidified in your subconscious brain and becomes a part of who you are, you now have the third step, the confidence that it takes to show up, to roll the dice more often, to hit the button and, start a podcast or go live or write the book, whatever it is. You're either going to win or you're going to learn, period. Yeah. Right? And that's the process. That's how we get from A to Z. It's a 3-month program, and I can't imagine anything that would be more meaningful to be doing with my life, my energy, and my essence than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just said something too, I think is really important, is for people to realize they have to invest in themselves, and one thing I've been learning, and I mean, I'm sure you have a coach, don't you, Coach T.Spice? It's like, you get these coaches, you finally say, okay, I'm worth it. I'm going to do it. You know what? Screw a therapist. I'm going to get a coach, right? And start getting on that road to where I want to be and that vision I want to have. And then you start learning. One thing that's been very big for me is like learning that it's not a one and done. And I think you can attest to this too. It's not like, okay, you got through that goal. Like you said, I got my blessing. It's all good. I'm doing it. I've got the confidence. I've got the consistency. And then something's going to come around and knock you off your ass, whether it's just life itself or some, whatever it is, here's your next lesson. So it's now to pick yourself up again. And it's been for me learning that even those coaches have their coaches and they'll tell you, what is it, the next level, next devil, right? It's like, it's a constant evolution. So I think that's something I want to say to people who think about going and getting a coach. It's not like, that's it. You're going to do your 3-month program. I'm going to have all the answers. That's going to be it. And then that, it is the first step. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And what's coming up for me is the big mistake that people think that they need information. Now, information is huge. You know, it's very important. I don't want to diminish the importance of information. But it's the transformation that you get from a coach. And the reason why you want a coach in order to get what you actually want is because you don't know what you don't know. We've all heard that. But like you said, when you come up on a new situation, your mind gets to default back to what it's always thought. So like an example was coming up for me. So like if we were raised to think that an apple was a red fruit, you know, and it is, but for example, that's a red fruit, and you hear no, it's not, right? Your subconscious mind hasn't gotten that just by having the information that there is an alternative perspective. It takes practice, it takes convincing, it takes evidence that, you know, this isn't what I thought it was. This isn't what the default program in my mind was telling me it was. And that's the importance of having a coach. And that's why it's so important for every coach to also have a coach, because I'm going to default to, you know, certain thought patterns and things. I might have a client and they say something and I define it by my defaults. And then I'm not doing the best service that I can for my clients. So it's so important for everybody to at least have therapy, but for entrepreneurs to have a coach or a mentor, and then for those coaches and mentors to also have coaches and mentors.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how it just keeps going up, right? I mean, because I was even in a Les Brown speaking group, and he talks about his coach, you know, and I'm just like crazy. He's had the same coach for 15 years, you know. Yeah, and something was telling me, I'm like, do you ever outgrow your coach? I'm sure that does happen, but yeah, and he still, to this day, here's a man who speaks to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and he was admitting to us that, you know, he has his moments of doubt whether he can do it or not. So I think that's another thing. And if you want to speak into, because confidence is a huge thing. I know you come up against it a lot. And I think for people to know that it's not just because you had the confidence to do it once that you're not going to feel the fear. It's that you just have to feel the fear and still do it, you know? So if you want to speak about that, because it never really goes away. And that's what I keep hearing too. It doesn't go away.
You get to lean into it. It doesn't go away, but you get to shift your relationship to it. You get to feel it and get excited about it. I gave a speech probably a year ago called 13,000 Feet, right? And it was all about my experience with skydiving. And the major takeaway from it was where most people think that you need to overcome fear and you need to be fearless and all these different things before you do the thing, that actually, well, for me anyway, it was more about getting to the point of no return.
Right.
So the point of no return for me was when I bought the ticket, because I don't know about y'all, but when we spend money where I'm from, you know, it's as good as done. We're not in like the habit of wasting money, probably because of scarcity and things like that. But still, that was the point, that was the point of no return for me. At the time that I paid for that ticket, I might as well had already jumped out the plane, right? But as I get actually closer and closer to the date, and I get to the location, it was Oceanside in the OC in California. The nerves kick up, and it starts to sink in, like you're really about to jump out of a plane, bro. Like, what are you doing? I'm not a thrill seeker or anything, you know, but I wanted to face a fear. I wanted to overcome a fear. So that's why I did it. And in the plane, oh my God, my thoughts were going crazy. Can we back out? Nah, I can't. A whole bunch of self-doubt. What am I doing? But, you know, my point was that by that time, you've already gone too far. You've gone to the point of no return, and the thing was going to happen anyway. So I want to inspire people to kind of play with that idea that you don't have to do the entire thing. You don't have to start and launch and have $1 million business before you do something that commits you to taking just one more step. Right? Point of no return.
Yeah, well, but I think that goes back to how you say about living a life by design and not default, right? Because how you're also saying, well, what is the life that you envision? What is it that you actually want? Because how many times, I mean, we all get told no so many times that and we just believe we can't have what we want, right? And don't really realize that it's actually up to you and what you're thinking and what you're doing, your choices, your actions, um, all line up for the results that you have. So when you take somebody through like helping them, I mean, you had mentioned about, yeah, the visualization, but for someone who's never even conceived that they could design their own life, where do you start with them? Like, what would you say to people out there who are thinking about that and going, well, I don't even know what I want. So I, I couldn't join his program because I don't even know what I want.
Right. And that's a tough one because that's riding right along the line of whether I'm going to decide to work with you or not. So being honest and being ethical about that, I think is important. But one of the things that I do in my free breakthrough calls is we'll drop in and we'll have a visualization experiment or what do you call it? What do I want to say? We have a visualization exercise, which is more like a kind of a guided meditation where I'm asking you specific questions. Where do you want to live?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to feel? What type of thoughts do you want to think? How do you want people to see you? And I take you to that place, be there now, experience it as if it's happening right now. And a lot of cases, I pull out some really deep rooted visions that people aren't consciously aware of that always existed.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're giving focus and attention to it, where their focus and attention has always been on bills or feeding the kids or all these different things. They never had an opportunity to really pay attention to the vision that does exist, but they're unaware that it's there.
That's really important. So let's speak about that because Coach T.Spice right now is offering those free breakthrough calls, and I totally agree with you. You have to know if you can work together and if it feels good. It goes both ways. It is a relationship, and it's exchange of energies, and it's like, hey, are we on the same page? And can I help you where you want to go? And are you willing to work with me or are you going to work against me? So how do people get part of your breakthrough calls? What do you want to tell them about?
Oh, so yeah, you get to jump in. So like we were talking about, it's super important that we understand some things about each other. So the very first step that you want to take is filling out the application that you can access at talmadgespicer.com. And that should be in the bio, but I'll spell it TALMADGESPICER.com. And I get to review your application, and I'll personally invite you to have a chat if I identify ways in which I could be majorly impactful for you. And then we'll sit down, and the breakthrough call is about 60 minutes long. We do a deep dive. We talk about your dream, your vision, your challenges, and see if we can't do something to generate a little bit more clarity in these areas, a little bit more consistency and confidence to take massive action in the now, not later, not next week, not next month.
Yeah, well, now. Hey, and how many people are saying, well, and here we are on the verge of next year, so you need not wait too much longer. It's here. Next year is here, people.
All you have, your whole life is just a collection of now moments. That's it.
That is it. Yeah, yeah. So let's speak about that because you have written one book. You just came out with another book and that's what really drew me to you. I loved the name of it. Now I didn't do the whole name. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up. But I know I liked the fact that it was have the guts to follow your guts. Yeah, just really quickly, that's what made me, Coach T.Spice here, we were in some other group, a coaching group and stuff, and he had put out, if, you're, I'm looking for people on my podcast. If you think you're interested, please give me a shout out. And I was like, oh, who's this dude? And I had heard you speak in a couple of, videos and such. And then I looked him up and saw have the guts to follow your guts. And at that point in time, I was like, because then I was like, oh, I'm just starting out. I can't be on his show. I don't really even have a website and I don't have and all of a sudden I was making all of these things. And then it was like, bing. It's like, dude, are you going to have the guts to follow your guts and just call this guy and say, hey, I mean, he may say no. And that's perfectly fine, but you're not even following your guts. You're not having the guts to follow your guts. So I want to just say that to you because just that name in and of itself is what made me go ahead and have the guts to call you.
Thank you so much for doing your part.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to realize that that's all that our responsibility is just to do our part, follow the guts, do the thing, and leave the results to the universe, leave the results to God. We're co-creating, so when you showed up, I showed up.
Yeah. And I mean, who would have thought? I wouldn't have thought that then you'd be on Power to the Peeps. So, and who knows where else.
And then we get to just keep showing up. That's
and paths cross and go. But how did you come up with Have the Guts to Follow Our Guts? What do you want to say to people? Because this is a new book. It's available on Amazon and it's self-published. I loved the story you shared with me that you self-published it by accident, which if you want to share that story.
Yeah. I think, well, the name, I don't know. I must have channeled it. The name came to me and it was very wordy, like we were talking about before, but it was so real to me. And I think the reason why it was real to me and the story came after the title was because I was always curious. I was always analytical. I was always trying to figure out how this worked and what can we do? How far can we go? I have a little sister who, I would do the thing first because we wanted to have fun. We was trying to figure out new ways to have fun. And I would do the thing first, see how safe it was. And then I'll go, okay, yeah, you could go ahead on and do this stuff. And we didn't have any business doing none of the stuff, by the way. Like we shouldn't have done any of it, but.
But in the name of fun, right?
Right. So we're entertaining ourselves. And I guess that just became kind of a part of who I was. It's like, push the envelope, see how far you can go. One quote comes to mind right now as I say that. They say that you never know how far you can go until you risk going too far.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of been the theme of my life. So moving from there, you find out in the book that I moved to Idaho, at one point in my life. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's having some guts.
Yeah. Just jumped out there. And I also decided that I was going to travel to Dubai because it's the most luxurious place that I thought that I could go, and I was just putting my manifestation, skills to the test and ended up in Dubai. And then I come back and then I moved from New York, New Jersey to California. No plan, no job, nothing like that. But just having the guts to follow my guts have led me to have some extraordinary experiences. And I want to share the lesson that I've learned about jumping out of your comfort zone. It's the most exciting thing that you could do. And a lot of the things that we're worried about are neither here nor there. And even the things that come up that are kind of difficult, you are capable of managing. And we don't believe in ourselves enough to know that we can manage challenges. In fact, challenges are meant to grow you, not break you down.
Yeah. Well, and growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Let's be crystal clear about that. You don't grow, and everything you look at in just physiology and nature and etc., like it's growing. That's why they say it's growing pains. Like there's nothing comfortable about growing. And I guess if you just want to be in your lazy boy binging, then that's okay too. That's a choice. But there's not going to be the growth, or like you said, that expansion of even what's available out there if you don't put yourself in those situations. Are you just you and your sister? Do you have other siblings?
It is just me and my sister. I do have 2 stepbrothers though. Shout out to y'all.
All right. So does your sister still follow you to this day, wait for you to do something?
Yeah. Yeah, kinda. I just got her into I'm like, "Yeah, you gotta get some Bitcoin." You know, you got
Ah.
I'm not gonna let you not have it, you know, and
Yeah, there you go.
I had to test it first, you know, I had to go through the ups and downs and lose some money in the stock market
Mhm.
and do all of those things, and I'm like, "Okay, I get this now, I understand it, do this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you just touched on something which we were talking about the, you can get through it and staying in the safe zone, you do that thinking it's safe, right? So
Mhm.
even in becoming an entrepreneur, and you can speak to that, right? Well, I'm not going to have, my benefits or this or that. And, I can't rely on the paycheck. But it's like, okay, well, the paycheck is never going to change, right? Because even if you got a raise, it's going to be what? Minuscule, right?
Right.
And then if they need to let you go, you're gone. So, I mean, there's really no safety in any of it. And yet we want to believe that there is, right? So I think it's that part too, where I think we try to get comfortable telling ourselves these things for
Mhm.
not making that stretch and going out there.
Mhm.
And would you not agree too? It's one of those things too. People are afraid about what other people think about the choices they make.
Right. Right. Even though you're the only one living your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it true?
I think the second part of the title of the book is related to that. Playing
Yeah.
it safe is the biggest risk of all. I don't think that a lot of people have really let that land, you
Yeah.
know, that when you look for safety and security outside of yourself, outside of self-confidence, right? You're outsourcing your freedom pretty much, you know, because the person, the relationship, the job, whatever the situation is that's promising you security is also saying, you'll be secure as long as you play by my rules, play within my parameters. There's a big debate about it, but I think that there's still a message to be received by the saying that the most secure place on the planet is a high prison, a high security prison, right?
Okay. I don't wanna be there, thanks.
Right. You don't want to be there. And yes, there's dangers in there, but I think that the point is that you don't have to worry about eating. You don't have to worry about, paying rent or bills or anything like that. But you also can't do everything you want whenever you want. You're under scrutiny and you're under the law of, the land there. It's the same thing in your job, they get to tell you when you get to take a vacation. They get to tell you when and how long you get to take a break. They get to tell you how much time you get to spend with your family.
Mhm. Yeah, so true. Yeah,
But
especially and it doesn't matter if you have you got somebody who passed away. I don't know how many friends I've had, like, I can't even take the time off, and I'm like, "What?" You
what?
know? Yeah, yeah,
Even if you were going to get the green light, I think the fact that you even have to ask when you have somebody that's passed away is ridiculous.
it's kind of inhumane, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, you
I have
should
to
say
ask
yeah,
you if it's okay to go to my family member's funeral. Like, oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest risk of all, and when you said that, the quote from Helen Keller came up in mind for me about that there is no security in nature, and that life is a daring adventure or nothing at all, and that's the other quite part of it is that we're here to take the risks and we're here to push the boundaries and to go out of our comfort zone and out of where I mean, yeah, there's so much to be experienced. And I don't know, for me it's like I'm thinking about everything you could eat and drink. To me that's enough. I want to go somewhere where I can eat and drink something new and see a new beautiful sunset somewhere else, because yeah, they're all sunsets, but as you know, they all look different somewhere else and every day in the same place. So
Yeah.
well,
Risk
well,
is all there is. Risk
It
is
is.
all there is. Right? And I think to resist risk is to resist life itself.
Living. Yeah.
Because risk is an essential part of living,
Yeah.
and we resist it because we're scared and we want to stay safe, but we don't even really know why we're here in the first place. So what are we securing?
Yeah. Well, and when you think about it too, I mean, for me, I've always thought this very simplistic thing, even as a kid. It's like, well, aren't we here just to, and maybe that's going to church. I'm a recovering Catholic, but is like, but aren't we here to love and help and be kind to each other? I mean, I thought that's what we're here to do. And yet there's this, me kind
Mm.
of thing, and not looking at the collective, that, and I think that right now that's a big thing that's happening right now is people are having to look at the fact everything that we've been talking about today,
Right.
T-Spice, is crumbling because it has all been a lie based on a whole bunch of boosh, boosh.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't I don't know how this sounds, but I want to welcome everybody listening to my world. Welcome.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
that everything is crumbling and the veil, of illusion
Mm,
is starting to be lifted, and you realize that there is nothing or no one that you can count on like you can count on yourself. Congratulations.
yeah.
Congratulations, because now you have the opportunity to take that power back and stop outsourcing it to your job or your relationship or your religious affiliation, your community. You're the one, and the only
Mm,
way out is within.
yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm just going to tap on that because even when you said, you're the only one you can depend on, there's a very nuance there because I lived for years thinking I can't depend on anyone, trust no one, and have a lone wolf mentality. And that is not what you're speaking of. You're speaking about when you said the within, and what I just want to jump on is that connection we all have with, source, whatever you want to call it, divine universe, the God, the goddess, mother God, father God, just that big energy that is. And right now is that big shift because it's just like even Mother Earth is like, there are a whole bunch of fleas on me. They got to get off.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that it is important to realize what I mean when I say you, right? Because separation is an illusion and we're
Mm,
all a part of the whole. So it's crazy because it's like counterintuitive when I say you're the only one that you can depend on, but at the same time, you are all things. I am
yeah,
that I am.
you, and then you go out.
Yeah. We're all fingers on the same hand, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that means that you get to depend on everyone. I mean, not to the point where you feel lack and limitation because somebody doesn't show up in a certain way that you expected them to, but to realize that even when they don't, it's to teach you something, to build you up and to grow you, even if you don't like it or it's not uncomfortable, but it's all working together and it's for your good.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, yeah, really everyone think about that working together, you know, cooperation, just I think too is everybody being patient and a bit compassionate with everyone. Everyone has had a hell of a year. It doesn't matter where you are and what your story is. Everyone has had one hell of a year, and I think we all need to give ourselves and everyone some grace. But it's also not you know, it's time. It's time. It's time to like wake up and
Yeah.
hey, let's look for some solutions. Let's like look at, okay, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we got, and we all can pretty much agree that this is not, it's not benefiting anyone. So let's put our minds together and come up with something else. But as you said too, I think that's really important, is as much as we want to think about the collective, I also believe it really starts with yourself. you know so
Right.
kind of quoting Gandhi, you be the change you want to see instead of worrying about what is on the news and what our so-called leaders are doing. You really need to look at yourself. How are you leading yourself? How are you leading your family? How are you leading your life? And are you actually walking your talk? Start there.
Absolutely.
Start there.
That's the control center. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's how we have control. So, well, we're already like at 40 minutes, Coach.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, I just looked up. So, on that note, I'm going to say this. If you have the guts to follow your guts, if there's anything that resonated for you here today with Coach T.Spice, there's at the bottom, scrolling there. It's also in the description up above. Go to his website, have a breakthrough call with him, see if you're a fit, and feel if it's okay. And who knows, sometimes just taking that step, whether it's with him, and I say that, on my little form too, when I fill it out, I have me saying, hey, and you know what, don't worry about it, because even if it doesn't work out, I may be able to tell you someone else, or there may be just that shift like you were talking about that'll help you to find the next person, because we're also, as you're a perceptionist, I like to call myself a way shower, that there is a different way. Yes, there is a different way. Yeah, we just have to start looking for it, and by taking that one first step of having the guts to follow your guts. And if there's anything saying, yeah, maybe I should check him out, then you should. Go ahead. We dare you, double dog dare you. All right. And take a look at the book, his website, and check out his podcast too. I'll have to put that in. You got a lot of links, man. I got to put some more links on that one.
Apologies.
No, don't be. You know what? It'll be a lot nicer when I get it all in the YouTube and put it in there, because everything will be there. So yes, take a look for this as well on the Paying It Forward YouTube channel, and I'll have all of those there. I'll fit what I can if Facebook lets me. I usually put in the comments below too. But thank you so much, Coach T.Spice. Is there any words you'd like to leave the audience with before the end of this call, the end of this year, the end of basically the world as we know it?
Yes, indeed. Hashtag love movement. I have a movement that involves, the purchase of a t-shirt, but the t-shirt is a reminder, right? It says love. And the first love is meant to remind you to love yourself, right? Fully, wholly, unconditionally. But there's a caveat, right? So the reason why you love yourself is so that you can love the whole world unconditionally, fully, wholly, all of those good things, right? And the t-shirt is love, right? First love, second love. Join the love movement.
I like that. And I'm all about love. We can all use more of it, and it can never be enough. So yeah, and I am going to jump on that. Love yourself first if you want to make a great, and I'm not really big on making resolutions, but how about this? Making yourself a promise, making yourself a pledge, making yourself priority, making yourself number one, and really love yourself that way, that you want to be loved instead of looking for it outside of yourself. And then you've got more to give, and what you give is what you get. And there you go. Then it's all love. All right, Coach T.Spice, thank you so very much for coming on here. I know you've been all over the place. Thanks for sharing your message and your energy and your vibe. Thank you so much. And everyone out there, please stay happy, healthy, positive, and enjoy the rest of your never before lived day. Cheers.